Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this video series. I'm getting some lectures ready for a summer camp with teenagers, and thought I would just share the videos online instead of deleting them after I edit my lecture notes. In the last one, we introduced shaders because the young people for that summer camp are probably very interested in game development. The summer camp's going to be using Godot, and they're probably not. That's probably not the game engine they've heard about. So I wanted to make sure and introduce shaders because, well, frankly, when we get up to Unreal, that's the biggest part of Unreal. Scripting our character movement and uh, inserting meshes that we made in Blender is about the same in all of our game engines, but the shaders are where Unreal's magic really happens, and we get that realism. So I wanted to make sure and introduce that along with the other game development stuff, and we were doing that in the last video. And when I watched the video, I noticed there was a couple little issues with that. So I wanted to make a quick addendum. First off, somehow I ended up making that a child of the sky. The water does not need to be the child of the sky. Probably could have gave it a name as well. So this is just an addendum to the previous video. Probably could have fixed that. So over here in the hierarchy, this is a useful thing to see because this would be the same in all of our game engines. If a child ends up under the wrong parent, the water should be parallel to the sky, not a child of it. So we can just click that and drag it up and drop it as a node of the parent. And now notice the hierarchy changed and put it in as its own, as a child of the level, not a child of the water sitting next to it. And in Godot and Unity and Unreal, once we put those together, we might want to reuse that water somewhere and make it its own object like we did with the player and the landscape in general. So in Godot, and it's very, very similar in our other engines, we can just right click and save branch as scene. What would be different in our other big game engines is it would have a different label. Such as Unity, it would be called a prefab, not a scene, but the same logic. So we want to turn that into its own object instead of keeping it here. So water dot Godot file extension for objects. And now we have our own scene that we can open up. We can go back in and edit the water independently of anything else, bring in copies of it into different levels, and we don't have to keep remaking water over and over and over again. So we need to do, kind of overlooked where that was going in as a child. And then at the end of the video, there was something I feel like I kind of forgot to mention it. We go in here and open up our shader that we made, which is now a material. And at the end, I'd say go in and play around with the numbers and try different things. But remember, it is also a material now. The shader is the code which makes a material. So we have all of our material controls. And when you're doing those, maybe try some of the regular ones. Oh, the preview looks a little bit better here. So if I turn the normal map up on one of them. So try the material shaders as well. Actually, I think from this preview, that looks a lot better. If one of them has the normal map on and the other one has it off, try seamless and all the little things like that. And if you want to keep it as a material, there's other things we could add in metallic and roughness and all of those. And if you want to keep it, and this is consistent with most of our game engines, when it's collapsed, this is the actual thing we created. When we collapse everything back to our original inspector, we can just drag this over to the materials folder and save it as a water material, not just a water shader. So without the editing functionality, but then in the next one, instead of creating a shader and redoing all that code, we can just copy and paste this all over. So remember to try those those regular material options as well, not just the changes we made in the code. Let me run this, see how that ended up looking. Oh, the sun's moving slow again. And again, what we did to get that water in the last video, we just sort of adjusted the normal map, which what that really does is tell the sunlight to reflect in different manners. So let me turn that up to like 6. That way the sun comes over the hill and shines on the water because it's just a flat surface until the light starts reflecting off of it. There we go. And make little changes till you feel like you got a pretty good looking start to water. Make little adjustments. I'm going to go with this for the video. Definitely not the best water I've ever made, but that's the general steps. And somehow the child got off, and I noticed when I previewed the videos that I forgot to mention um, we created a material, so we also have normal material properties too. For water, you might want to add a metallic so that it makes it nice and shiny and reflects really well, or maybe a rough surface, or something like that. Those should follow suit, but there's lots of tutorials for materials online. The next step in my lecture notes is something there's not uh, something important for game development that usually gets overlooked in the tutorials because the tutorials are all how-to steps for the game engine. So I'll see you in the next video. I just wanted to make this quick addendum first.